Hey, welcome to part 19 of the CDK plane experiment. This is Horatio Fails. If you remember last time I was started working on this canopy. Let's push A, get rid of that yellow line. Let's go to vertex mode. Let's go to edit mode. And we're in vertex mode. Okay, here's a little trick that I have learned. If you notice, let me hit Z right quick. If you notice my little frame here that I was trying, the window, the dots that I've made for the window frame here, they're in the wrong place. They're a little bit too fat and they're in the wrong place. So there's an easy way I can fix this. We hit Z, make this transparent. And then I'm going to box. I'm actually going to box all of these in. And you can do this with one vertex or you can do it with a bunch if they're lined up like this. I push Shift V. And scale Z, I think it is. And I'm actually moving all of these, but what they're doing is they're actually staying along that line that's already there. So therefore they're not, Shift V, and then move them down. Except for I think did it distort my frame? Yes, it did. Okay, I tried to do tried to bite off too much at once. So let's Control Z. Okay, let's try it this way. Let's box just the bottom ones. And let's push Shift V. Not try to scale them, because scaling it messed it up. Shift V. And let's slide them up. And it's showing you basically in bright yellow the old position, and it's showing you in the regular yellow the new place. And then if I left click and then push A, I just moved those up, but I slid them along the edge of that. So therefore, it didn't distort the frame. Excuse me. If I would have just grabbed them, like I'll show you here, we'll grab the top ones. If I just grab these top ones, and then I grab them to the Z, and then I move them down to where I want them to that shadow to make my little frame there. And then if you notice sideways, what it did was it distorts the frame because it brought the vertices straight down. And then I would have to sit there and either grab them separate and move them out, or I'd have to scale them to the Y and then guess real close and stuff like that, which I do some of that stuff a lot. And sometimes it actually works out. But Control Z. Okay, now if I push Scale V or Shift V, Scale V, Shift V, and then I just pull them down. I don't even have to push grab. I just pull them down right there. That looks close enough for our frame. I'll click and then push A. Now, that slid them right along that edge so it didn't distort my edge. So my edge kept the same shape. That's what I was wanting to do. Okay, now I'll show you an easy trick too. Instead of trying to extrude these lines in here and so on and so forth. Oh, now the only problem that I have now, what I did was I didn't actually bring these up, so I need to Z, Control Z. There's probably an easier way to do what I'm doing now too. So I got them back where they were now. So what I need to do is actually, I forgot this looks like one frame, but it's not actually one frame. I'll move that out a bit. This mic's a little bit sensitive. Sometimes I don't pick the stuff up. Okay. So I need to come all the way down here. I don't know if you remember, we put a microscopic gap here. And we want to grab just these two and not the ones on the front there. So I grabbed the two there. And I'm going to grab these back two. And then we're going to box in these bottom ones again. And actually I could just zoom in here. I've been zooming out for so that you could kind of see that the whole thing's moving. But if I Shift V, I bring it back up here where I want it right. Basically where that shadow gets dark on this picture, and click it, and then A. Now if you notice the actual front with it, which probably threw it off a hair on here, I don't know. But like I said, it's so small that it's going to be fine for the model purposes. Okay, let's bring this. And the other thing I could do is actually throw in more edge loops in here, but I don't want to do that. Although I could double edge loop this, but it just adds more dots. I really don't want to add more dots. And actually with this, I could actually box this whole thing in, since that's on a kind of like on a pivot point. Actually, I could have grabbed that other one and slid it with it too. I could have just actually kept all those dots lined up, and that would have if that's going to make that frame stick out any at all, which it doesn't look like it is, or it's not even noticeable unless you're probably in the microscopic. But I actually could have done that. I could have slid that pivot line with it. So let's go back to Z. Let's box this. And like I said, sometimes I still make mistakes. Of course, I don't even consider myself an expert in Blender. I'm somewhere maybe in the advanced intermediate, or if you're going to use the word expert, maybe I'm in the beginning parts of being an expert. But I think there's some people that probably would just laugh at me. It'd be like if I was in martial arts, it'd be like a green belt, or you'd have these people that are like brown belts or black belts. They'd be like laughing if I was like, yeah, I'm really good. They'd be like, yeah, sure, okay. Anyway, let's Shift V. And let's bring these down. And they're sliding along the lines, and we want them right just about there. I actually think what I want to do is bring them up a little bit. I want them to almost look like a square. I want them to be almost the same width as their cross framing here, right about there actually. Because once we draw this, now it does look like the little side tube, the little side frame for the window is a little bit thinner. But I think part of it's just the way he drew it. I actually think I made this, unless the center bar is fatter. It looks like the center bar is fatter in this picture. But if you look at most of them, they look like they're pretty much the same. Okay. And again, like I said, I should look at some of the pictures of this airplane and see if I can get a close-up picture of the pilot sitting in the cockpit and so on and so forth. That can kind of clue you in on some of that stuff. Okay, let's push A. Okay, now what I was starting to get at, and actually what's kind of funny too. Oh, interesting. It moved that, but it didn't move it exactly the same. And actually, even moving those dots, it shouldn't have distorted that lines, except for sometimes where the line breaks because of the pivot. But it shouldn't have distorted it because you slid it along the lines. So the line should still match, and the dots should be basically on there. But actually, as you can tell, it did it did. Like I said, if you come down to the microscopic, it did make our line a little bit ganky. So what I can do here is box this one. I can push my 1, come back out. And I can box this one again so that I have both sides. Okay, let's go to 3. And let's zoom in here so we can let's see, let's grab this to the Z. Let's bring it up. Right about there. And let's grab it to it would be the Y. And we're pretty darn close, and then we're just a tad high. Grab it to the Z, let's bring it down a tad. And let's... Oh, I think I screwed up because I think I grabbed it and didn't scale it. Oh yeah, I did. You can kind of see it. This one over here. No, it doesn't look too awful bad there, but it's... Okay, so let's go Control Z. Control Z. I think that's it. Let's do one more Control Z. Okay, yeah. And then this time I need to remember not to move it, but I need to scale it. Okay, let's scale it to the Y. Right about there. Now we can grab it to the Z. We can bring, because they both have to come up. And then that's actually the nitty gritty right there. Let's scale it to the Y, which moves this one in. It's moving them both in, which is bringing the other one towards us, and this one. Alrighty. That looks pretty darn good. And looks like it. Okay, so we'll push A. Come back to Z. Okay. Now if you noticed. Okay, let's save that. File save as. 15B is still good. And probably the same thing on this. We probably need to hit Z, and let's get our box section here. And let's look at that. 3. Actually, and again, yeah, that screwed up our line because that was on a pivot. But on this one, I want to grab all 4 of these. Whoopsie. Oh yeah, no, I grabbed it from the side, so that's okay. But I need to box and grab this one. Let's come back over. And let's grab them to the Z, and let's bring them up. And let's scale them to the Y, and let's bring them in. Pretty darn close. Okay, let's come down to the nitty gritty here. Okay, let's scale them to the Y again in. It looks like it's just above that. Now let's grab them to the Z and bring it right there. Okay, now our canopy lines match up again. So what I want to do now is come here. What I was gonna tell you now that we got these window frame lines where we want them, what we can do now is we can let's hit Z. So we go into shaded mode. And let's get a little bit of an angle here, and I'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to go into line mode. And we're going to click this line and shift and click this line, and we're going to hit F. and then A, and then we're going to click this line and shift click this line. We're going to hit F, and then A. If you notice, we got our little window shapes in here on the side, which easy enough. We can select this line and shift this line, face and A. Okay, and we're going to hit this line and shift this line, face A. Okay, now if you notice, I have my first canopy here. And there's a couple things I can do here, because I need to make basically 3 more of these, but they're going to slightly go down in size every time. So the options I have to do that is I can just duplicate this whole window frame and scale it as we go along, and or, which I'm probably going to do, and or I could just try each one kind of separate, as they're not really different too much. I'm actually thinking, even with the way this the way they shaped this plane, kind of makes sense. It kind of doesn't make sense. They must have had it on a rail system, otherwise they wouldn't have been able to taper that window towards the back here. But we'll figure that out as we go along. Okay. So, look again, what I was saying is it looks like in this picture almost like these windows are rounded out at the corner. So we'll try something here. Let me go back to line mode. If we actually select this face and this face, and then we go F. Now what I don't like about this, again, is it's putting a triangle in here, and I've heard that supposedly triangles are a bad thing, and it seems like in other programs that's all they use is they call them polygons in a sense, or polys, and a lot of them are just triangles. So I need to do some further research about the triangle thing, because I've heard that, you don't want triangles, and I had showed you how we get rid of a triangle. Basically, is we just put like a like we can go to face, we could delete the face, and we can come to verts or whatever. I don't even think we'd have to come to verts, but like say let's put a Control R. There we go. Okay, so now what we can do, I didn't do it. You can notice on the other side it's not done. I'd have to do this to each one of these. But if we go back to face mode and we select this face, then this face, then this face. Okay, face. Okay, so we have the same exact triangle again, but this time it has 4 dots in it. So like I said, as far as the computer knows, it's not a triangle, it's a square. It's just a really weird shaped square. And that's how you keep from having triangles. See, I do have one triangle up here, but I could actually loop cut across these other funny triangles here to put a couple of vertices in here so that we don't have a triangle. Because so far that's the only triangle on this model, is this one right up on top of the window here. And I think I just moved yes I did. Okay, Shift C. Sorry for my wife, she's listening to the game on YouTube. I really need to get an office where I can close the door and put recording on the door. Okay, let's just do a little brush up stuff here, and then we're going to call this one a session. So again, and especially if I'm loop cutting on these areas, Control R, and I'm not changing, I'm just putting it right there. So if I'm not, in other words, if I'm not shifting that up or down, it's not going to affect the ones behind it. When I loop cut them, they'll be in the same exact place because it's centering them. So as long as I don't need to move them into a special place. Now this I kind of don't like here. See, and even on this triangle over here, it's kind of, it didn't come out too bad, but these ones here look a little like I need to go to vertice mode. Box. Oops, quite a box. Z. And then box it because I want to move the ones behind it same exact length. And then I can push Z again and still have them selected. Now, this is pretty much straight, so I could do the same thing. But if there was any angle at all and I wasn't sure, I could do the Shift V thing again. Shift V. And I could bump that in just a hair because I want it to kind of, I want it to match the one on the other side there. It's like too far out. Actually, Shift V, let's move it, let's bump it just a hair there. Okay. So I think that's a lot closer. That looks a lot closer to me. Let's go back to lines. And let's, let's click this line and shift and this and this. Let's put F, push A. Let's come over this side. Select, select, select. F, A. Okay, so now up close. And there's probably some ways I could actually basically made sure that those are more uniform. And see on this picture here, like I don't see, like I said, actually I think the reason though why is because this is the canopy over the top of the other canopy, so that's not the same window, so it makes it look like the window's just squared off there. But anywhere we kind of see where the window's in its own frame, it looks like there's those little notches there. Okay, let's look in object mode, see what it looks like. And I don't know why I'm getting that. So yeah, I'm kind of liking the way it's looking there. Now you can tell, this is kind of funny, on my canopy frame, I have the front one smoothed out, and I have this back one's not smoothed out yet. So that's why you're seeing these little flat surfaces on the back canopy there. Once we smooth that out, this'll go to edit mode. Okay. Go to faces. And if we actually, let's see, I think it's Control. No. What about Alt? Yeah, Alt. There it is. And if we go Alt, whoopsie. And Shift. Actually, I think you can only do one line at a time. Try this Alt. Why isn't it wants to work on the front but not on the back? Let's zoom in here. Okay, Alt. Said, yeah, we're going to go through the whole bottom because that's what we think you're wanting to do. There we go. Interesting. I guess you got to hit the next one, not the one up. Okay, now let's try this again. Shift. Let's go Alt on here. Yeah, It's confusing it. So we'll just do one line at a time. So let's go Shift. Let's go Alt on this next one. Okay, let's bring out our T. And let's smooth the faces. Now some of the reason I wait to smooth all the faces is because I'm still going to be adding stuff in here. So anything I add is going to be flat until I tell it to smooth it. So usually I just wait until the end to do the whole thing. Let's click Alt. Let's go smooth. Let's select this one. Let's click Alt. Let's go smooth. Okay. Select this one. And smooth. And let's select this one. Alt. Select this one. It says I don't want to do that. Maybe because I got it in double-sided normals, I have to actually go around from the other side. Now here's another little trick I learned that you might find interesting. I want to draw on this side of the airplane, but I got a picture in the way. And a lot of times what I do is I move those pictures. But all I have to do is hit the / key on the number pad, and it'll actually make those pictures disappear. But they didn't move anywhere. They're still there. Okay, let's try this again. Select Alt. Yeah, now if you see, it's selected, but if you look at the back side, it shows them. But when I was trying to select it from the back side, it didn't seem to want to work real good. Smooth. Okay, let's hit A. Okay, now, if you like I said, you notice, let's get this T out of the way. You notice my pictures are gone. Now I need the pictures back for reference. You hit that / again, and your pictures are back. Okay, let's come down here. Let's go into object mode. Now, if you notice, my little window canopy looks all round, and the thing that's kind of funny about this whole airplane, I got it smoothed out, except for the back here. You can see the back, like where I was working on behind the back window there. So this whole thing's smoothed out now. But it's not really smooth. It's just all flat surfaces. They just shade. They blend the shading color to make it look smooth, to give you an idea what it will look like. It's not really smooth. About the only way you can kind of sort of make objects physically smooth is you just have to add a billion dots. It's really ridiculous because all of these dots and lines hook together, and in a sense, you can't curve the lines microscopically. They're straight. So, but that looks pretty good. I think we're going to close up with that today. We're going to change the angle on this a little bit, so when we come in the next time, I kind of like the pictures on each one of these tutorials to be a little bit different, so that you can kind of glance at them, tell they're not the same tutorial. So we're going to save this. Save as. And I think we're still good with 15B. We get the rest of the canopy drew in there. We'll go to 16. And I think what I'm going to do on the next tutorial is actually, I promised this guy on War Thunder I'd start drawing an engine, an aircraft engine. And it's a 9-cylinder engine. It's a British engine, but it's a 9-cylinder engine. So I think I'm going to start playing with that. Or possibly off to the side, but I need to start doing it. And I told him I could actually probably draw it out and then actually scale it to this airplane and stuff. Even though, like I said, I don't really per se need an engine model for this airplane. All I basically need is a UV map. I could make a very simple engine for this and put a UV map on it, save me a bunch of dots. But either way, I either need to do his thing separate and just draw it and send it to him, or I need to get on it. I'm doing this, and I'm doing the Starship tutorial. And anyway, again, this is I already saved it. So what I do now, it doesn't matter if I open it up. It's going to open up into the other file. So thank you for watching number 19. We'll see you in 20.